Hello? Hello? Ah, there you are. Hi, how's it going? Welcome to Albion silver making. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys 5+1 ways that you can earn silver in Albion Online, and the order in which I'm going to tell them to you does not necessarily depend on how much silver they can make. I'm just going to tell them as I did them, and then in the end, I'm going to give you guys a ranking based on my experiences with them and what I think, or how much I think you can make with them. But without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Before we get into it, however, I want to ask you for a little favor. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button down below. It's going to help me and the channel out a lot. But yeah, with that, let's go on with the video. So the first thing I'm going to talk about, quite obviously, is PvP. The really nice thing about PvP is that it takes on many forms. For example, my favorite, Corrupted Dungeons, has two forms. Lethal, which is full loot, and non-lethal, which is not full loot. Then there's also Hellgates, which Albion Online's wiki describes the completion of as, after killing enough demons or defeating an opposing party, your Hellgate will be complete and a marker will appear on your minimap. If you kill an enemy party, you will be rewarded with an additional chest. Here you will find an exit portal and another entry gate. The portal will bring you back to the surface, while the gate lets you chain into a new Hellgate if you meet the same IP and group size requirements as before. Now, there are IP requirements, which I'm not going to go into great detail of. You can find them at wiki.albiononline/wiki/hellgate, but I'll leave every link in the comment below that you, or in the description below, that you might find useful. But that's another type of PvP. A different type, which is more open world, is the Roads of Avalon. If you go back to one of my previous videos, I actually described how one of these Avalonian gates looks like, and you can enter with either a group or solo. Solo, of course, is going to be more dangerous because you can get outganked by groups. But, you know, you don't have to share your loot if you do eventually kill someone. In a group, you kind of do. It's kind of just an unspoken rule. And then there's also open world PvP in red and black zones, which is full loot, and it's the exact same as the Roads of Avalon, except on the Roads of Avalon, you can get chests, which have different tiers, different colors, green, blue, and I think purple. And, you know, lower tier greens are usually not contested. Higher tier is usually more contested, so that's what you have to watch out for. That's pretty much how you can play PvP in Albion Online. Now I'm going to go on to how much I made in 8 non-lethal corrupted dungeons, how much silver. I am also going to give you the average of that so that you can kind of get an idea as to how much you can expect. And yeah, but keep in mind, this is non-lethal. And in lethals, you get the entire loot of the person, which is usually around 100k if their items don't trash. So then let's get on to the math section of the PvP section of this video. In the first corrupted dungeon, I got 146,000 silver from 1 mini-boss and 1 victory. In the second corrupted dungeon, I got 32,500 silver from only 1 victory. In the third corrupted dungeon, 64,800 silver from 1 mini-boss, 1 victory, and 1 main boss, and this is going to be the same for the rest of the corrupted dungeons. The fourth was 81,000 silver, the fifth was 31,000 silver, sixth, 43,000 silver, seventh, 132,000 silver, and the eighth was 35,000 silver. Therefore, the average per dungeon comes to around 70,600 silver, and that is quite good considering that a dungeon takes around 10-15 minutes of just clearing and then killing the enemy. Now, I also spent money on beef stews and major poison potions. I got 8 beef stews for 29,450 silver and 8 poison potions for 93,600. So the absolute total for the 8 corrupted dungeons was 565,300 silver, and I had to repair for 18,940, and subtracting the cost of these poison potions and beef stews, we get left with around 415,970 silver in pure profit. Now keep in mind, if you go lethals, and if we consider the average cost of an average gear to be around 100,000 silver, and you do 8 dungeons, you have 8 victories, that is 800,000 silver, and that is only from the victories. That's not considering the mini-bosses, the boss. So with that, you can get around 1 million silver. From that, you subtract 150,000 in poisons and food, and also the repair, and then you get left with around 850,000 silver. So it is much better in terms of profit, but it is also much higher risk because you risk losing your entire inventory. And now onto the next section of the video, which is gathering. Now, gathering is a double-edged sword, mainly because if you like grindy stuff and you like to just, put on music, have a little no-brain moment for about 8 hours or 12, then it's perfectly fine for you, which is what I like to do as well sometimes. But on the other hand, if you prefer more action-packed stuff, this might not be for you. Now, the 5 things a player can gather is wood, stone, ore, hide, and fiber. Now, wood, stone, ore, and fiber are freely gatherable if you have the specific tool required for the job, and these are from plants and resources that you can freely mine. Hide, on the other hand, is of course from animals, which is, to be expected, but that also requires you to kill the animal before you can actually skin it. After some research, I found that ore and fiber are the most profitable resources, so you can expect to make quite a nice profit with them. I went for ore because it is a little bit more profitable than fiber, but not by much. So in terms of profit calculation and telling you what I did, just know that I mined ore to try and find its profitability. As with everything in Albion Online, you're going to want to invest some time and silver into the start of your gathering process. Now, I recommend choosing only one path. For example, if you want to mine ore, then only mine ore and do nothing else, because you want to level that up as quickly as possible so that you can get onto higher tiers and make more profit. But if you want to, you can pick up a maximum of 2 professions. In my opinion, you can pick up more, but then you're just wasting your time. So the time investment is going to be the time put into getting a tier 4 pickaxe, which is acquired by mining tier 4, tier 3, and tier 2 ore. So after you have your tier 4, you're going to want to invest in a miner set, which is going to cost you around 12,600 silver. It's not a lot, but it's still silver that you have to invest into it. If you want to get an Avalonian pickaxe, that's going to cost you 130,000 silver. And that basically just enables you to get a little bit more ore by mining. So basically, it increases your gathering yield. Now, I also invested in some pies for maximum yield, which cost me around 56,625 silver for 15 pies. Now, as soon as you reach level 5 or tier 5 or at the 20% mark, you're going to want to use some learning points and increase that and level that up. And then you can get a tier 5 miner set, which is going to cost you around 40,000 silver. So the tier 5 miner set is going to help you out a lot as well, just like the tier 4, but it's going to be a little bit better. As for why tier 5 is better, you can start to harvest tier 6 in red zones, but if you want to stay in yellow zones, you can harvest tier 5 faster than you could with a tier 4 pickaxe. Plus, you can also harvest or mine 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3 ore, which you couldn't with a tier 4 pickaxe. Now, if you want to, spend a little bit more money, you can spend around 500,000 silver for an Avalonian pickaxe, a tier 5 one, and that's going to increase your gathering yield, but it's not necessary. You can still make pretty good profit with just a normal tier 5 pickaxe. So then, onto my journey with gathering. I started at 12:45 on a wonderful rainy day, and I ended at 17:45 on a still wonderful rainy day. So it took me around 5 hours for the entire process. So the mining process took 5 hours for tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, and tier 5 ore. And I will get onto how much I made in the refining section of this video, because I didn't really count the profits of the ores themselves. I counted it as the metal bars. However, if you want to only gather, that is still profitable because you're not really spending that much on the refining costs and everything else. You're only spending money on your food cost and your miner set and your repairs. At the time of recording, iron ore or tier 4 ore is around 46 to 48 silver per piece, and tier 5 titanium ore is around 230 or 240 silver, somewhere in between. So you can still expect to make quite a bit of money just by mining the ore. And this takes less time than having to mine tier 3 and tier 2 ore as well. So let's say, for example, that you mine 2 stacks of 999 ore from tier 4 and tier 5. If you mine 2 stacks of 999 tier 4, then you can get around 95,900 silver for that. But if you mine 2 stacks of 999 tier 5 ore, you can get around 479,500 silver just from mining those 2 stacks. And that just increases as the tier of the ore increases. Keep in mind, however, that you will have to reduce the amount of silver you spend on repairs and stuff, but you should make around, let's say, 300,000 silver if you mine mainly tier 5, but you also throw a little bit of tier 4 into the mix. So now that we're done with the mining section of this video, it's a perfect segue into the refining refining section. So I mainly did tier 4 refining, which was a mistake because tier 5 is just way more income and way more profit. But you know, it's whatever, you live and you learn. So my total income was around 482,000 silver from the tier 4 materials, and the total profit was 320,000 silver, right about there, if you reduce the price of the tier 5 set, the repairs, and the money I spent on food. So I also noted down to myself that you can easily make 350,000 or maybe even 400 or 500,000 silver if you choose a really good mining path, and if you spend your time mining tier 5 instead of tier 4. Furthermore, if you mine higher tiers, for example tier 6, tier 7, tier 8, this profitability will only increase, obviously, because higher tiers are better paid. So my total tier 4 refining yield was 1,258 4.0 steel bars, 122 4.1 steel bars, 21 4.2 steel bars, and 13 4.3 steel bars. In terms of tier 5 refining, I got 28 5.0 bars, 5 5.1 bars, and 4 5.2 bars. As I said, I didn't really do a lot of tier 5 mining. I only did ones that I got from the golems and whatever was enchanted. But yeah, refining is going to take you a lot of time, especially because you have to gather lower tiers. So if you do tier 8, you have to go from tier 2 all the way to tier 7 before you can even craft a tier 8 bar. You can always go to the auction house and try to make a little bit of a profit there, but it's not going to be as much as if you gather the materials yourself. However, this is a lot more of a grindy process, and you're going to spend way more time as you would, you know, browsing the marketplace or browsing the auction house and then buying from there, crafting it, and selling it for profit. But as I said, you make more profit if you mine yourself. So let's go on to the next section of this video, which is solo dungeons. This is sort of the enclosed PvE aspect of the game. There's also open world PvE where you fight animals, where you fight open world mobs, but this is the closed aspect. Now, what I did is I actually got these experts dungeon maps, which were solo dungeon maps, and I got 10 of them. So I went through 10 solo dungeons, I calculated how much silver I got in each one of them, I calculated an average, which was actually surprisingly higher than I thought at first, and I also considered the repair costs, and everything included in the calculation of the profit. But solo dungeons are actually extremely chill and extremely fun. You can also put on some music. It's pretty much like gathering, except you're fighting mobs and you're pressing your keys. You're not really no-braining. You have to actually think. Not that much, but you know, you still gotta press your buttons. But this, I would say, is the fun, grindy part of the game if you like to have a little bit more action in your life, but you still wanna, you know, lay back, relax, and chill. But let's get on to the profit calculation section. So let's get on to the actual income section of the solo dungeons. The first dungeon was 35,470. The second one was 137,810. The third one was 20,040. The fourth one was 35,200. Fifth, 8,290. Sixth, 7,520. Seventh, 10,180. Eighth, 17,695, 9th 36,400, and the 10th was 55,730 silver, which brings the total loot to around 364,340 silver, the average per dungeon being 36,434. I spent 92,750 silver on repairs, so the total profit was 271,592 silver. Now, depending on the size of the dungeon, it can take around 15 to 20 minutes, maybe more, maybe less. As I said, it really depends on the size of the dungeon. If it's only one level, then it's going to take less time. If it's 2 or 3 levels, then it's going to take more time, obviously. However, I was actually quite surprised that we still managed to cash a little bit of profit. You know, 270,000 isn't exactly a lot, but it's still income that you can generate by doing an extremely chill pastime. Now, the would I recommend this section comes at the end of this video, so stick around and I will be ranking everything from 1 to 6, or from 1 to 5. The 6th one is more of like an honorable mention. For this next section, we're going to be completely naked because we have come to the wonderful city of Caerleon. Situated in the middle of the main continent, it is only accessible through red zones, so I wanted to come here, you know, all safe, without any loot, without any weapons, without any armor, so that I couldn't get hunted down and I could actually travel with the travel planner. But the wonderful thing that exists here, right, is the black market. And the black market's sole purpose is to sell for a much higher price than you would in any other city. Since my knowledge on the subject is so little, consider looking this up for yourself because anything that I say might not be correct. So you can make quite a bit of a profit, but you have to be quite high level in refining and crafting in order to actually make a decent profit. Therefore, it is a very high barrier to entry. Or if you want to do buying and selling, then you have to buy someplace else, have to go through red zones to, risk being hunted down, and then sell it here for a profit. So it's very risky, very high barrier to entry. That's why I kind of left it for last, but it is still a good way to make money, and it is actually, as far as I know, you can actually double your silver. Like you buy something for, let's say, 5 million, and you sell it for 10 or 15 million here, so you can double, triple your amount of silver that you spent in profit or in income. So me personally, I don't really do this, but I'm sure that many other people can tell you how good it is, how to do it, how exactly to go about it. But this is kind of just a mention from me as a silver making method. So now on to the topic of islands, which is my +1 or my honorable mention for this video, and more specifically island farming. Now I recommend herbs over plants and animals because their return on investment is much lower than the other ones. So with premium, you can get between 6 and 12 herbs per plot of land, or per slot in the plot of land, because every single plot of land has 9 slots that you can plant on and harvest from. And if we count the maximum amount, which is 12 for each of the 9 slots, your return on investment is around 47 hours or 2 days, which is actually quite good because you just have to plant twice and then you made back the amount for the seed. Now let's look at this way. So if you have 3 plots of land, your initial investment for tier 4 is going to be 202,500 silver for both plants and herbs because it's 7,500 per piece. Your minimum return for herbs is going to be 46,980 on 3 plots, and for plants is going to be 37,260 for 3 plots. The maximum on these said 3 plots for herbs is 93,960, and for plants is 74,520. For plants, I counted 250 silver per piece, and for herbs, I counted 290 silver per piece. For herbs, it's going to be, the maximum amount is 47 hours in ROI, and for plants, it's 55 hours. So for plants, it's a little bit worse. Herbs take the win in this case. The thing is, you actually have to farm up to a level where you can actually plant and harvest tier 4 herbs. That doesn't take too much time, I think like 3-4 days, but you can actually play the game while your plants grow because they grow in real time. So for those 22 hours, you can go out there, you can gather, you can mine, you can refine, you can do black market trading, you can do solo dungeons, you can do whatever you want. It will be there growing. So for 4 plots of land, let's say, the ROI is going to be the exact same. It's just going to be the amount of silver that's increased both in terms of investment and in terms of outcome. For herbs, the minimum amount is 62,640 silver and the maximum is 125,280. For plants, it's 54,000 for the minimum and 108,000 for the maximum. So you can kind of see the difference. These prices were only at the time that I was filming, so that might vary a little bit, but I doubt it's going to vary by much. And keep in mind that the profit will increase the higher the tier is. So for example, a tier 5 herb is going to get you much more than a tier 4, and a tier 6 is going to get you much more than a tier 5. But that's pretty much with everything in the game. This is kind of the reason why I left it as an honorable mention or a +1, if you will, because you can actually go out there and do other stuff after you use your focus to water the plants, to actually plant the seeds. So you just plant the seeds, that's like 5-10 minutes for the entire thing, probably less, and then you go out and you do whatever. That is the beauty in it, and that's why it's a +1 as well, because it's not a main thing. However, if you do want to make it a main thing, you have to pick up cooking and or poison/potion crafting, because you can actually make money off of that as well if you have the necessary components on your farm, and then you can make the necessary potions or poisons or food and then sell them on the market for a good profit. But then you have to spend your focus entirely on your island. So now we come to the conclusion slash tier list slash whatever you want to call it section of the video, the ending, where we're going to put together a top 5 list according to my experiences with different sort of silver making processes. Damn. So, in first place, we would have black market trading, which you can make a lot of money on really, really quick, depending on, like, the sort of background process of how long it took doesn't really matter in this case, because you can really make a quick buck on it. So that's top 1. Number 2 is going to be corrupted dungeons slash PvP content, because that can earn you a lot as well. Of course, lethal is going to be above non-lethal, but that's just a question of specificalities. The third one is going to be refining. The fourth one is going to be gathering. And the last one, unfortunately, is going to be solo dungeons. Even though it is very fun, it's not that profitable, and you're better off gathering or refining or both. And then, of course, we have the honorable mention of island farming, which can still, you know, it can still get you a little bit of money, but it's not going to get you that much to survive in Albion and to get sets that you need. So this has been it for the Albion silver making process. This whole video took me about 24 hours of straight filming, so I really hope that you guys enjoy it. If you did, please be sure to leave a like and leave a comment as to what I can improve or whether you liked the video. But yeah, hopefully I will see you guys next week, Tuesday, with another Albion video or maybe something else. But yeah, until then, I wish you guys the best of luck on your Albion journeys, and I wish you amazing profits, and adios.